Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, ladies and gents, that's Aloe Black. And Aloe, young man's got some skills, but he's got something he wants to say. Why is that? Aloe Black, everybody. Hey, been doing a lot of thinking lately. About a month and a half of thinking. And I decided, you know what? Let's try to narrow it down for people. Let's give them information. So I came up with the Empowerment series. Now, that's a series. And you can't just go to video number 4 without listening to video number 1, 2, and 3. And you can't go to video number 1 without listening to 1, 2, 3, and 4. You might want to call it almost like a seminar. You know what I mean? But without any actual facility, talking and taking questions, just providing answers. For instance, who would have known that their promissory note, when they gave it to the bank, was legal tender? But I told everybody, the law calls it tender. It calls it tender. Go, if you don't believe me, go back and look at the Federal Reserve Act, Section 16, paragraph number 2, and just look at the top portion of the paragraph, the A portion of the paragraph, for paragraph number 2. And you'll see it says, and it shall be in the form of a tender. And then it tells you what the tender is: collateral security. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a law. And that law calls it tender, making it legal tender. But then you go to the Federal Reserve Act, as I showed in the video, and you'll see it calls it tender by saying it is at par and is used for the same purposes as Federal Reserve notes and the same purposes for national bank notes. What's a national bank note? Anybody know what a national bank note is? Well, the Federal Reserve is the national bank for the United States. So a Federal Reserve note is a national bank note. I apologize. Whew. It just, you put pieces together and people just can't see the puzzle. Then you go back to 1863 and you get the Banking Act of 1863, which held that national banknotes were legal tender. And then you get the Supreme Court cases, and look for some Supreme Court cases that says national banknotes are legal tender. Ta-da! There you go. That's how you handle that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, look, I would advocate a lot of these legal sites for getting legal so-called information, but I can't, because they're just like ChatGPT and Bard and all these other searches that you guys are doing on Google. You're not going to find your answers because they have programmed these computers not to give you the answers. The answers are out there. Fox Mulder. Okay, Agent Scully. The answers are out there. But you're not going to find them in a conventional way. You're going to have to dig. Now, all of you who were taught that my signature is what gives it blah, 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 and they're using my exempt account, I'm sorry to tell you, it was never that way. Now, you do have an account with the Treasury. That is true. You do have an account with Social Security. They let you know that you have an account. So don't think that you don't. So is there an exempt account? Technically, yes. Do you have access to it? Technically, no. Okay? You have to go through custodians until you get control of your securities. The best way to get control of your securities is to realize where you're at. Okay? You got to realize where you're at, y'all. Now, see, I'm just a marble, a pretty big marble, going through the oceans and sea of mankind and realizing so much. You know, I've been watching a lot of videos. Said I wasn't going to discuss this, but I am going to discuss it. Been watching a lot of videos. Been watching a lot of videos on Hollywood and all the realizations about Hollywood that people are just realizing for the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, I used to hang around the Hollywood extras and Hollywood so-called stagehands and all of that stuff. Used to go to their parties. Used to go to their parties in Beverly Hills and forgot the other small little cities around Los Angeles that they used to have parties. I didn't go to their parties and drink and smoke and all that. I just went and took my friends and we went to their stupid parties. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be honest with you. And those who've been to these parties understand what I'm talking about. The parties were boring. They were boring. At least to me, they were boring. So why did I go? Just to be able to say I went. I've seen the so-called drugs. I wasn't into drugs. I don't do drugs. Look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, I live with myself. Not by myself. I live with myself. Okay? I know. You haven't heard too many people say it that way, but you need to understand. Just like you live with your significant other, you live with your family, live with your children, you live with them. I live with myself because I understand that I am not just me. I am more than just me. I do too much thinking to be able to say that I live by myself. Please. Oh, for crying out loud. Ladies and gentlemen, what he's trying to say is that he treats himself as an individual and not as himself. And by treating himself as an individual, he can better navigate and control his actions. Something that took him some time to do and to go about resolving a lot of things. But enough about that. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about the little monologue. But back to the conversation of empowering people. A lot of you feel hopeless and helpless. You have the law showing that your promissory notes are at par for the same purposes as Federal Reserve notes, for the same purposes as national bank notes, and are to be receivable at all membered banks. You don't realize when you fill out a so-called set of closing documents that include Federal Reserve Operating Circular number 10, Appendix number 3, that you are applying for the capacity of a membered bank of the Federal Reserve. And as long as that promissory note is outstanding, you remain a membered bank. Shh, don't tell nobody. As long as that promissory note used to sign for your mortgage is outstanding, you are a membered bank because the note was approved. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you you could borrow against your own promissory note? What if I told you you could borrow against your own promissory note? Imagine that. Now, not going to go into detail about that. You just need to understand that that promissory note, as long as they're trading your note on the market, you don't even realize that you're the holder in due course because you have proof that it was paid off. You have proof that it was paid off. You are the holder in due course of that note being traded on the market. That's why we kept telling you guys that you can do a margin call on your own promissory note. Shh, don't tell nobody. You have proof that it was paid off, and they're still trading it. Ladies and gentlemen, they're claiming that you still owe a debt. You can do a margin call on that promissory note since they're claiming that you still owe a debt and they are making a profit off of your note. Who gave them the right to profit off of your property? The mortgage doesn't belong to the bank, it belongs to you. What do you mean? Because the mortgage is on your collateral, and as long as you're making payments, the bank doesn't own the mortgage, you do. The agreement was that you pay them fools, and you've done that. You have proof that they've been paid. I know. Man, this is going to take some of you so far off. But stay on track, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go too many places. Pay attention to what I just said. Focus on your goal. Stop focusing on everything. Stop watching all the little lights and chasing all the little lights along the wall like the little cats that you are. Everybody, you keep hearing, what about the 1099A and buying a house and paying off a house with a 1099A? Where did that go? Because all of you guys started chasing every new thing that came up. Oh, I found something new. Oh, I found something new. Oh, look, I found something new. And you keep chasing after the new stuff and not realizing it's always been about the old stuff. Go back to the foundation of when all of this junk got started, and you will see how to navigate through this stupid sea of ignorance. Sorry. Just thought I'd express that. I got to get up from here. I'm still laying down. It's about 7:35. It's cold. I told you I don't run my heater. I got up and turned on the heater, but I don't run my heater. It was 32 degrees this morning, probably 28. I didn't actually look, but I know it was cold enough to where I can look at the cameras and see the frost on the vehicles. And because I could see that frost just packed up and caked up, this was probably one of the coldest mornings we've had so far this winter. And we got about 5 more days of this coming. So winter has finally arrived. No snow, just cold for the moment. And I decided to stay in, reset the heating blanket, and say, I ain't getting up. But now I'm about to get up because I'm up now. Y'all done woke me up. With that being said, I have, for last year, like I said, $80,000 spent on either paying people for services that they performed for the organization or reimbursing them for monies that they lost. Can't do that this year because it's time for me, because I haven't been doing anything for me. It's time for me to advance me, because if I don't advance me, I can't advance you. I can keep giving you guys information. Look, go back. Those of you you don't have to go back and look at YouTube videos. Just go back in your mind and see if anybody's ever told you that your promissory notes were at par with Federal Reserve notes and national bank notes, that they were legal tender. Now, go back and look at the Federal Reserve Act that I've been showing you guys for several years now, showing you that it was for the same purposes as national bank notes, and national bank notes were legal tender. That means your promissory notes are legal tender. Your promissory notes are the collateral for the loan. You guys really need to understand that, and until you get it and until you start speaking it, look, we're on our way to court. I'm going to use their courts for now. But that's why I sent each of those 3 registered mail. Because the moment each of those 3 registered mail suits that had the filing fee attached are ignored or blocked, I add them with all the other ones that they blocked, and we go straight to the Supreme Court, and I get them for gatekeeping. I don't mind saying that. That's why I sent them registered mail, so that I can prove that it's not just one court, that it's all the courts. They run my name, and they are blocking my access. Why? Because I keep revealing their stupid secrets. I told them to leave me alone, and they refused. So, since they didn't want to leave me alone, now they got to deal with me. And I'm going to keep telling y'all their secrets. For instance, you have a mortgage out there, those of y'all who have mortgages, that's trading on the market. Even if you were foreclosed on 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, your mortgage is still being traded on the market. Go to fidelity.com, do the quote lookup, put your mortgage number in there, and see if it's not being traded on the market. Your mortgage was pooled with other mortgages. They've never taken it out of that pooling agreement. Even though they foreclosed on your home, remember the mortgage is still trading. It's part of the pooling and servicing agreement. They are still making a profit off of your junk, and you're still suffering because you don't understand there is no money. It's all digital. And the fact is, you can make sure that they understand small claims court, documentation, subpoenas. That's what we haven't talked about. You go to small claims court, you're going to do a subpoena, all right? That's right, you're going to subpoena your information. They ain't going to like that in the small claims court. Ooh, wait, they ain't going to like that, but too bad. Because nobody does subpoenas in small claims court, people. Y'all are. Y'all are. So look, the empowerment series, we're going to take a hiatus for a couple of days, and then we're going to come back with talking about the IRS, talking about your tax credits. So y'all stay tuned, okay? Hey, hello, let's take us on out of here. Hey, look at the video. Look at how well it goes with the video. Look at that. And I'm not doing that on purpose, y'all. Hey, gotta go. Y'all take care, okay?